Hello, my name is Renee from Modern Homemakers, and today we're going to learn how to do our own manicure. Who doesn't want to be pampered and have nice manicure? But it's expensive. The first thing we need to do when doing a manicure is remove any old polish. So I've already removed the old polish. And then we're going to, if you need to clip the nails, if they're too long, you could clip. I'm actually not going to clip, I'm just going to file because they're not that long. I might just take off just a little bit here and there, but for the most part, the amount that I'm going to reduce, I'm just going to do by filing. You'll use a couple of different files, but the first one we want to use is a little rougher. And so I like to go, since I want to do that square shape, I'll go across the top first to get it a little bit. And then from there, on the sides, just kind of go from the side of the nail into the center. And you do try to keep with that motion of going from the side of the nail to the center, and then any like loose burrs on the top. So that's pretty much done. So once again, across the top. And then we'll file in from the side. You can get different grades, but it's just like with sandpaper. You know, it's better to start with that rough and then go back with a finer. You want to try not to do too much of that sawing back and forth. Try to make it more of a smooth movement. You know, this is going to take you a while to do all of them, so just repeat that for every nail. And then after you've done all the nails with the rough file, then you're going to come back with the smoother file, and you can tell that just it's a lot finer. So when you get done with this one, just kind of look up close and see, you know, you shouldn't have any, if you see any rough spots, you know, then just kind of smooth them out. And then you're just going to repeat that same thing. So here you can see it's kind of rough from the other file, and I'll smooth that out. And you're going to do that for each of the nails before we move on to the next step. All right, now that we're done with the filing, we're going to soak the hands a little bit just to get the cuticle softened up. After you've soaked, gotten the cuticle soft, we're going to use some cuticle softener, just putting that on the base of each finger. Way more than we need, but that's okay. Then you need a cuticle pusher. I'm going to use the flat end, and we just press down. I'm going to move that out of the way so you can see better. But you'll feel there's like the skin kind of grows up onto the nail, and we're just pushing it back. You know, it's gentle. You don't want to, you know, be rough. You just kind of push that back. Do that for each nail. You want to kind of rinse off that cuticle softener. You don't want to have that on there. All right, then the next step, we're going to make sure that we just kind of dry that off, and we're going to look for any loose pieces of cuticle that might be sticking out. So like right here, I see a little piece. Okay, can you see that? These are cuticle nippers. And you don't want to go down too deep. Some people like to do this every time, but I have found that if you do this too much, you can actually make hangnails. So I tend to just, look for any loose areas, and that's what I do. Then we also want to make sure that we clean out from under the nails. Next step is we're going to put a little bit of cuticle oil on each finger, just a dot. And then you take this soft block. It's going to have different sides, and I just do the soft side and just kind of rub that across the nail. You can go across the tip just to make sure that's all nice and soft. This is going to help if your nails are kind of rough and have ridges. It's going to make them nice and smooth. So now I've just got done buffing, and I'm going to do one of two things. I can either just take a cloth and make sure I get all of that oil off, or you could take alcohol, a little rubbing alcohol. You just want to make sure that we get that oil off so that the polish will stick. You can use Q-tips, but sometimes the Q-tips will leave like little strings on there. So after we get all of the oil off, then we're just going to give them a little inspection. Just kind of look over each one. So they should be smooth. There shouldn't be any rough parts at the top. And just any little imperfections that you see, take care of that before you start with a polish. We're getting ready to do the polish. We always start with a base coat. So you could have like 4 separate bottles: base coat, color, and then the top coat. But what I'm going to do is, my nails are kind of chipped, so I like to use a nail strengthener, and I'm going to use that as the base coat and as the top coat. So kind of wiggle it a little bit, get that extra polish off. You don't want it to be too thick. Do one coat in the middle, let the bristles fan out, and then to each side. So I can usually, and then you can just kind of smooth there. Then you don't want to come back to that until it's dry. So one in the middle, and then each side, and then if you feel like you need to smooth. You want to have really good lighting when you're doing the polish, and maybe even put on a pair of reading glasses or some magnifying glasses so you can see real well. All right, so I've got my first coat, my base coat, and then I'm just going to turn on a little fan. So I have 2 things here. I have a fan, and I also have the light. So the light will like smooth out the polish, smooth out the ridges. The fan dries and evaporates the different chemicals in there. So we need a combination of those 2 things. You could, and I like you do the fan first, and then we'll do the light after it's a little bit drier. So that's probably enough. I'm going to go ahead and do the other hand, and then do the same thing to the other hand. All right, so shake the color that you're going to use to make sure that it's mixed up well. We've got after the base coat, we're ready to do our first coat of color. Same process. Now make sure that you have put the hands into the fan for just a little bit. It doesn't have to be super long, like a minute. Start in the middle and out. And the other side, back up. And then I a lot of times go one more in the middle just to make sure it's all smooth. Okay, looking good. And you'll find that some nails are bigger than others, so that's kind of how much you leave on the brush. And that's just kind of a hit or miss thing. The thumb's a bigger nail. Like I think I took off a little bit too much. I didn't have quite enough to make it through there. Okay. So this is just the first coat. We're going to do this coat on every fingernail. We'll do I always do my left hand first. I don't know why, that's just kind of the way I do it. Probably because I'm right-handed and that's the easier side for me to do. Okay, so you'll continue that you'll do this hand completely and then put it on the fan for a minute and then do the other hand. If you get any on the skin, you can use like the end of your cuticle pusher, or maybe even the point, just to get off any that you might have gotten on the skin. And then we're going to put that hand on the fan for about a minute. It's not going to be totally dry, but we just want it to set a little bit so that you don't accidentally smear it when you're doing the other hand. So I just finished the polish on the right hand, and I've got it on the fan, and then I put my left hand under the light. Now that way you can get a little bit of each. You always want to do the fan first and then the light will come after. So I wouldn't have to do the light on that left hand yet, but I might as well since I'm doing the fan and I have to wait before I can proceed. Then after you've done that about a minute, we're going to do the second coat of polish on the left hand. Okay, we've got 2 coats of the color on, and they've been drying about a minute. So now we're going to do our final coat. Once again, you could get actual base coat. I like to use the nail strengthener or nail hardener since my nails are kind of flimsy. So I use that for both the base coat and the top coat. Works real well. And this is easy to put on. You don't have to be near as careful as with the color. And so it is important that little bit of drying with the fan. Otherwise, if this polish weren't at all dry, then it would, smear and streak, and you would get the color on the brush. So you didn't wait long enough if that happens. All right, we've got that top coat on both hands, and we're going to, the left hand is going to go under the light, and the right hand will just be up there by the fan. Now, that light is what's going to get you the really professional look. It's not absolutely crucial. You could just use a fan, but this light, it smooths out the polish, so it just looks totally smooth. There won't be ridges or brush marks in it. If you went and had a professional manicure, they would have a light large enough that both of your hands would go in there at the same time. So you would have, and it also has a fan, so it has the light and the fan built in one. You're going to need to do this for like 5 or 10 minutes before you start going and doing anything else, or else you'll mess up your manicure. So you could have TV on, you could have a magazine that you're reading, but don't scrimp on this step. Really 10 minutes is best. We need at least 5. And I just kind of rotate them back and forth between one hand and the other. And there we have it. There's your finished manicure. And as the week goes on, you will probably need to do some touch-ups. So you've got your polish, and usually what happens is the end gets you'll get little chips on the end. So you can just take your polish whenever you get a chip, and you won't need very much. You'll need to really clean it off real good. And then, if there was a chip, you just go in that spot, let it dry a little bit, and you might, depending on how bad it is, you might have to go over the whole nail. You can do another coat like halfway through the week of the top coat, you know, freshen that up over all the nails. But that's one of the advantages of doing your own nails, is you can do those touch-ups and keep them looking nice.